सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Together we chant Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, verses 1 to 10.
अथाष्टमोऽध्यायः। अर्जुन उवाच किं तद्ब्रह्म किमध्यात्मम् किं कर्म पुरुषोत्तम अधिभूतं च किं प्रोक्तम् अधिदैवं किमुच्यते अधियज्ञः कथं कोत्र देहेऽस्मिन् मधुसूदन प्रयाणकाले च कथं ज्ञेयोऽसि नियतात्मभिः। श्रीभगवानुवाच अक्षरं ब्रह्म परमम् स्वभावोऽध्यात्ममुच्यते भूतभावोद्भवकरः विसर्गः कर्म संज्ञितः अधिभूतं क्षरो भावः पुरुषश्चाधिदैवतम् अधियज्ञोऽहमेवात्र देहे देहभृताम्बर अन्तकाले च मामेव स्मरन् मुक्त्वा कलेवरम् यः प्रयाति समद्भावम् याति नास्त्यत्र संशयः यं यं वापि स्मरन् भावम् त्यजत्यन्ते कलेवरम् तं तमेवैति कौन्तेय सदा तद्भावभावितः तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु मामनुस्मर युध्य च मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिः मामे वैश्यस्य संशयः अभ्यासयोगयुक्तेन चेतसा नान्यगामिना परमं पुरुषं दिव्यम् याति पार्थानुचिन्तयन् कविं पुराणमनुशासितारम् अणोरणीयां समनुस्मरेद्यः सर्वस्य धातारमचिन्त्य रूपम् आदित्यवर्णं तमसः परस्तात् प्रयाणकाले मनसाचलेन भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणमावेश्य सम्यक् सतं परं पुरुषमुपैति दिव्यम्।
So no questions I can see. So let us revise what we have done in verse 8. With the unswerving mind made steadfast by the practice of yoga, by the abhyas, by the practice, nothing changes overnight. No real change comes overnight. It is the result of many years of abhyas. Abhyas in the sense that you're struggling, you're trying, you're working at it. You have determined what you're doing and you're clear where you're going and what is the methodology you're using and how you are going to execute all of that. You're clear about all these things and you're doing it on a day to day. Voice breaking. Good God. Is it okay now?
It's clear, Jankiji, for us. I think the problem would be at Tinky's end.
Okay. So, on a day to day basis, you're actually doing whatever needs to be done. You will find quite frustratingly that you won't be able to. You know, often our spiritual journey is something like um, almost like a drunken sailor on a stormy sea. Imagine the sea is very stormy. So the ship is moving everywhere. Okay, it's being tossed on the waves. Now the sailor himself is drunk. He's trying to make his way to the captain's cabin. What? Like neither is he steady nor is the sea steady. So, like a drunken sailor, we sometimes seem to be making. We don't know what we are doing. We don't know where we've got a very vague understanding of what we are doing. It's all quite difficult actually if you think of it in that way. We studied that beautiful poem Toys, and remember what those words were? How weakly understood thy great commanded good. How shallowly we understand whatever we have been told. And therefore, we don't continue to be steady in whatever we are doing. It becomes more like an entertainment program whenever we have the time for it. We don't understand this is the single most important thing that I am going to do in my life, and my life is based on how well I do this. Everything else could be done or may not be done. But this thing is not like that. This is a completely different thing. That is why we are so particular about how people attend the classes. If you come to class, you have to behave as if it is a normal class. It is not like like you're at home. That means you are fully dressed. That means you're not doing anything else. Just like a normal class. So we have to be extremely try and think about it as this is the 1 hour that we spend with God. Okay? This is 1 hour we're spending with God. How will we do this? Will we be wearing our torn gharke clothes, not had a bath, nothing we've done, and we have arrived? It doesn't work like that. We have to give it the importance in all things, not just muboli, like it's worth, oh, Vedanta is very good. No, you really understand its worth, then you will treat it with the kind of respect that it is due. That means you don't take any part of this lightly. This is the most important thing we do. Now, if we have that mental attitude, how will we do everything with reference to Vedanta? How well will our notes be written? How will we touch the books that we are touching? Everything is done with that grace. Not you flick the book. Some Westerners will put their feet on the book. Don't do these kind of things. It's like this is your time of effort. This is not the time of relaxation. And when you associate that devotion or divinity or whatever you call with it, then slowly you will find yourself associating it with all things. Because divinity is not merely while we are doing this 1 hour class, it is with us all the time. So everything we do at all times will be graceful, will be beautiful, we are doing it in the presence of God. Like if you were in the presence of Prime Minister also, you will be alert, right? Now you're doing it in the presence of God. How would you be doing everything? This is not a part-time pursuit. To be relaxed is tamas. To be alert, like your boss is there or somebody is there, to be alert like that is rajas. To be relaxed and alert is sattva. So that should be our attitude towards everything. We are very relaxed and we are very alert, happening at the same time. Sometimes we are relaxed, sometimes we are alert. That middle path of being relaxed and alert seems to evade us. So we have to bring it to our lives at all times. And how do you do that? Is by constant abhyas. You're doing the abhyas of being there all the time in a relaxed way. That's important. Otherwise, we make it another form of stress for ourselves. This is to soothe our life. This is to make our life comfortable. This is not to make our life stressed out. Oh my God, I can't get up at 4 o'clock. I can't get up at 4 o'clock. Chill. What time can you get up? I can get up at 10 o'clock. Then can you please start by making it 9:30, quarter to 10? Do that. Go step by step. Be clear where you're headed. Be clear what is your methodology you currently plan to use. Be clear on how much time you're giving yourself to do that. Treat it like any goal. It's not like okay, now I'll go to class and I'll relax for some time. It's not relaxation over here. It is relaxation, but it's alert relaxation. It needs that kind of alertness. So abhyasa yoga yuktena, you get yukta, you get united. You get united with the remembrance of divinity at all times through abhyasa. So at least beginning, at least in the class, please do the abhyas, which means you're paying attention, which means you have come properly dressed, you're not wearing like torn clothes and sitting at home relaxing. It would be nice if we could see everybody so we know who's doing what. But regardless of whether we see it or not, each one has to take the the their own responsibility for it, because it's your sadhana. Either you're doing it or you're not doing it. That you come to class on time, that you do what you're supposed to do in class. Like the whole thing, it's not like one aspect, it's everything. And the way to remember to get yourself to do all that is understanding on the presence of divinity. You can't be lying down and listening to Vedanta class. It doesn't work like that. You can be whatever, eating, chatting, doing some work also on the side. It doesn't work like that. Behave like you're in the presence of divinity. How will you behave? And once you start doing that, then hope will pervade everywhere. Every action you perform will be with the same grace and the same dignity. It is, people don't even think about this as part of their spiritual life. They think being sloppy and I don't know what, all disorganized is a very spiritual thing to be. Now, I'm not making up these stories, please. It's not like I think it's very important to not be sloppy. If you want, you can go read the text itself. This is a Vedanta class. You're learning what is going on, what the Gita says, not what somebody says. Okay, the Gita gives 35 qualities of a bhakta, not even jnani, bhakta. Why I'm saying bhakta is because I feel there are different rules for bhakta and different rules for jnani. No, it's the same rules for everybody. Amongst the 35 qualities of bhakta, the most surprising quality, which people just evade and go away, is the quality of dakshaha. Dakshaha means skillful, alert, prompt, punctual. All of this put together is Daksha. If you believe you're in the presence of divinity, how can you not be all these things? Skillful, alert. If you pack a parcel, somebody should stop and say, "Oh, what a well-packed parcel." If you clean your cupboard, it should look like somebody should actually stop and say, "Wow, this is a well-done job." And if each job we train ourselves to do like that, can you imagine the beauty of life? All of life is beautiful. No, I'm waiting for this to happen. I'm waiting for that to happen. Arey, right now, what's wrong with life? No, you don't understand. My husband treats me so badly. Okay, he treats you very badly, but what about everything else? Will you not get the pleasure of doing the job properly? Then do the job properly. If you're in class, then do that job properly. If you're doing your morning study, then do that properly. If you're exercising, if you're being with your family members, then do that properly. Every bit of it. So when he says abhyasa yogena yuktaha chetasa nanyagamena, I hope you understand what this word means. It doesn't mean, okay, now I'm going to think of God all the time. And I will not talk to my family, and I will not look after my finances, and I will not look after my health. My body has become 300 kilos. My finances are completely in a mess. My house, so nobody can even enter. No, you're doing something with God. How will you do it? So, abhyasa yoga yuktena, united by the practice of yoga, not standing on your head, but making your whole life as a celebration of divinity. Whole life, every part of it. So if you're with your spouse, you can think of nothing but your spouse. If you're in your class, you think of nothing but your class. If you're packing your suitcase, you can think of nothing but packing your suit. Abhyasa yoga yuktena. I hope you're getting at least some part of the depth of the whole concept. It is not a superficial sort of thing. Okay, let us practice. What am I supposed to practice? You're supposed to make God your witness in all things. And you start at least by doing it for class. Nothing else. Only class when you're in class. And when you're doing whatever else, other things you're doing, you're cooking, nothing but thinking. If you're praying, nothing but praying. Whatever you're doing. So, abhyasa yoga yuktena. Technically translated, if I were to give you the technical thing, abhyasa yoga yuktena means doing your 3 yogas. But doing your 3 yogas is a 24-hour job. It's not that, oh, I'm doing karma yoga now. I'm going to serve some people. I'm going to do some social work. That's my karma yoga. No, any action you do is your karma yoga. Any action, whether you're cooking, whether you're cleaning, whether you're shouting at people, whatever you're doing, it's your karma yoga. This is your service. Whatever emotion you're going through, this is your bhakti. And whatever intellectual thoughts you are entertaining, this is your nyan. Do it like that. Then chetasa nanya gamina. Mind is going nowhere else. No anya gamina. It is not wandering anywhere else. Paramam Purusham Divyam Yati. To that Paramam Purusham, to that Supreme Being, Yati goes Anuchintayan, meditating. So meditating is not just sitting down and closing your eyes and saying Om, Om, Om or any other mantra you have, but it is your behavior, constant behavior in life. This is known as open eye meditation. Open eye meditation means whatever you're doing is coated with the thought of divinity, coated with the thought of the self, coated with the thought of the truth. You are in the presence of that at all times. and therefore you're conducting yourself in that manner. No pictures? What do you mean, no pictures?
It's sorted, Jankiji.
Okay. So, okay, is verse 8 clear? So, abhyasa will be told to you in different disciplines in different ways, okay? So, we will, in Vedanta, you'll be told do karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga. If you were in a bhakti marg, they would probably tell you, do your bhajans, do your puja, do your whatever they tell you. If you were doing Ashtanga yoga, then they would tell you to your yama, your niyama, your yoga abhyas, whatever. Each one will tell you their own technical way of putting it. But the bottom line continues the same, which is that everything you do becomes your abhyas to reaching the self. That's the bottom line of it. If you do it part-time fruit. If you do it full-time fruit. Because the fact of the matter is, you will get from all of this only what you put in. You cannot get more than what you have put in. This is the law. Of course, there is the law of the harvest. The law of the harvest says that if you plant 5 seeds, your harvest will be big. That is the law of the harvest. But you can't get the harvest until you planted those 5 seeds. So what you'll get will be way beyond what you have put in. But it will always be proportional to what you have put in. So the most important thing is thinking, what are we putting in? So with the unswerving mind made steadfast by the practice of yoga and meditating, O Partha, one goes to the supreme resplendent being, Paramam Purusham Divyam Yati. You go, Yati, to go towards the Paramam Purusham Divyam, towards that Divya. Divya means to do with light. So unfortunately, people take it as literally light, but it doesn't mean light. It means the resplendence of the self, glory of the self. Paramam Purusham Divyam Yati Anuchintayan, because you have meditated on it. So what is this that you go to? Is verse 9. Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram Anoraniyam Samanusmaredhyah Sarvasya Dhataramachintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram Anoraniyam Samanusmaredhyah Sarvasya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat. Here he started explaining to us what is that being that you go to. Please understand, go to means only find within yourself. It's not, you're not going anywhere. This is a description of yourself. This is not a description of something somewhere out there, but of the self, our own self. Kavim. Kavim means, literally it means poet. But what the word means is the wise people. The wise people see things beyond what our fleshy eyes show. We see something, they see something else. Those who have been able to find their original self see something very different from what we see. So the self itself is known as Kavim. Kavim means as the all-knowing, as the one omniscient. Puranam. Puranam means very old, ancient. Ancient means, so you see pictures of God and he's got white hair and a long white beard. It's a very sweet way of conveying the idea of ancient. What does ancient mean? Ancient is a reference to time. Purana is a reference to time. So the self was here before time and therefore is considered ancient. Why do we say that the self is before time? Think about what time is. How do you recognize time? Time is the interval between two experiences. Okay? So, any interval between two experiences is considered as time, just as the interval between 2 points is distance. There's no distance at one point. Over here, if I say, what's the distance? No distance. But if I put another point, okay, then now there are 2 points. Now you can have a distance, right? So similarly, in the question of time, at the first experience, there's no time. But when you get the second experience, you feel a sense of time. Now, time began, therefore, at the second experience, right? There's no time at the first experience. So time began at the second experience. But what was already present before the second experience is the self. Already there. So he's Purana, he's ancient, he's very old. He's very old means he is beyond time. So that's why you'll see these pictures of God shown as a very, very, even Brahmadev is shown with all white hair and white beard. And, of course, in the Christian tradition, you see God as a person with long white hair and all that sort of thing. So, Purana, very old. He's not old, but he exists before time and therefore is considered ancient. Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram. He is the all ruler. The all ruler means what? He is the one who is the enlivening principle behind all the laws. This universe, this world as we know it, is nothing but laws and laws and laws. Every bit of it is a law. How do you get a effect? By doing some action. What agitates the mind? The presence of desire. So everything is all laws and laws and laws. This is laws pertaining to us, and there are laws pertaining to the world itself. You put together hydrogen and oxygen, you get water. If you drop something, it will be attracted to the earth at 32 feet per second squared. All these laws that are going on. The great scientists discover these laws. Einstein says E is equal to mc squared. He discovered something fantastic. Newton discovered the laws of motion, discovered something fantastic. So what is this world? It is nothing but laws and laws and laws. These laws are extremely meticulous, means they don't fail. Water will always boil at 100 degrees centigrade. A sample of water which is not polluted in any way, has no impurities of any kind, will and is at sea level, will always boil at 100 degrees centigrade. Every law functions like that, meticulously. No law is ever broken. So, because these laws function so meticulously, humans have posited that there must be some kind of ruler. How is it that no law can ever be broken? You can go deep into the recesses of the jungle and do something. Causation will continue. Nobody has seen it, but causation will continue. How does this happen? So humans say that there is an all ruler. We posit that, rules are followed like this only when there's a very strong ruler, there's a strong governor. So since these laws are never broken, there must be some great ruler. And so the Lord came to be called Anushasitaram, the all-ruler. We understand it to mean that all of this functions because it is enlivened by the self. Ano, Aniya, it is Anu. Anu means, Anu is like a very minute particle. It says he's smaller than the smallest. Crazy, He gave us this impression of this all ruler who's going to govern the whole universe. And then he says he's smaller than the smallest. How do you make up your mind? Is he this all ruler who makes this whole universe function? Or is he minuter than the minutest? What is it even supposed to mean? It is put like this, in fact, deliberately put like this to force us to think. What does he mean? He is more minute than the minutest. It means merely that it is all pervading. There is no place where the self is not. There is no place where you are not. The self is everywhere. He is in the nanoparticles. It's not like nanoparticles exist without the self. No, the self is there too. He is in the sun and the stars. He is in that, in the nuclear fission as well. From the biggest to the smallest, there is no place that he is not, meaning he is all pervading. Sarvasya Dhataram. He is the supporter of everything. He is supposed to be the cause of the world, cause of the self, in the sense that he is that which this world is made up of. Like how the pot is made out of the clay, right? So just as the pot is made out of the clay, so too is this world made out of God. In other words, everything you see is only divinity, is only the self. There is nothing other than that. Just as a snake, which is superimposed on a rope, suppose there's a rope, and you see it as a snake. So what is that snake made up of? It's made up of that rope. You're seeing a snake, but what is actually there is only a rope. So it's dark, there's a rope lying there, and you see a snake. You think it's a snake. It's not a snake, it's a rope. But this snake that you are seeing, what is it made up of? It's made up of the rope. The rope is the supporter, is the dhataram of that snake which we see. So we see this Vishwa, we see this world, and what is it made up of? It's made up of the self. Okay, somebody is saying something. What is this? Abhijit, why are you putting up YouTube videos over here? Please concentrate on what's going on here. Why are we going to other things? So, Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram Anoraniyam Samanusmaretya. Anusmaret, meditate. Meditate means see it everywhere. Remember you're in the presence of divinity. All over. Right? So behave as if you are in the presence of divinity. Anusmaret, meditate upon it. And having said meditate, he says, Achintya Rupam. Achintya Rupam means you can't think about it. You can't think about it because it is beyond the human intellect. You can't define the self. And yet it seems to us as if, but that's what he's doing, right? He's explaining to us what the self is. Yes, he's explaining to us what the self is, but please don't take these as definitions. You can only refer to them as indicative definitions. Indicative definitions means it gives us a kind of glimpse into what the ultimate truth or the ultimate reality is all about, but it does not tell us what it is. So if you think that, oh, I understand, he's the all ruler, that he's all pervading, that he's omniscient, I understand all of this, God is like this, he's telling us, achintya rupam, you cannot think it. You cannot know the self through your intellect. So if you say God is this, then know that you are wrong. For God, it's well beyond whatever we can think of. Achintya rupam. This quality of the self is something that we all must hold deeply entrenched in our hearts, because it's so easy to fall into the miscomprehension that we understand what God is about. It is so difficult. We are even willing to fight each other. We are willing to kill each other because we don't get this simple idea that God cannot be understood. The self is beyond human comprehension. Any thought you comprehend is not the self. The self is beyond that. Remember that what makes us think is God, not what we think. Anything we think is only ignorance. But that which enables us to think, that is the truth. That's what Kena Upanishad says. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. 5 times. Upanishad repeating something 5 times. You know, Upanishads say everything very briefly. It's extremely brief. It's almost like they're telling you formulas. So very briefly, they don't do any kind of, like here, Gita is very kind to us. There's a lot of explanation going on in the Gita. Upanishads are very strict in that sense. There's no explanation. They just say it. They say it as is. Take it or leave it. That's their stance. No explanation. Now, can you imagine this Upanishad repeats something, repeating it 5 times. That's something, right? What is it saying? Tadeva Brahma, that which makes you think is God, not what you think. That which makes you hear is God, not what you hear. That which makes you see is God, not what you see. When you go see a murti, that murti is not God. What enables you to see is God. So whatever you're seeing in the world, what has enabled you to see is God. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. That alone is God. Tat eva brahma vidhi. Vidhi, know it. Know that alone to be God. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. Not what you fellows are worshipping here. Worship things over here. Nothing here is worthy of worship in itself. But that which enables us to have that feeling, that which enables us to have that thought, that is the thing worthy of worship. That thing. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yaditam upasate. So much force he says, not that which you worship here. Sarthak. Sarthak is saying, ma'am, previously you were saying that think of the act while doing the act. But Krishna says, think of him. Please explain the mistake I've made in understanding. Where are you, Sarthak? Sarthak, can I see you anywhere? Are you there? You're Sarthak. Okay. So, Sarthak, you haven't made a mistake in understanding. Both things are said. That on one hand we say whatever you're doing, think only of that. And on one hand, we say, whatever you're thinking, think of God. So you're right insofar as at least you heard it properly. Now, what is the comprehension we require is try and think of it like, how should I put it? Try and think of it. Do you listen to music, Sarthak?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you listen to classical music?
Not really, ma'am. But nice, meaningful music.
Okay.
English song.
Okay. So if you listen to some classical music, you will see that there is in every classical rendition, not only the singer who's singing, but also a shruti or a tambora behind. Tambora, right? Yeah, tambora behind. The shruti is always on. Have you seen that? No, there's a person sitting there who goes sa pa sa sa pa sa sa pa sa. So
Yes, ma'am.
when the singer is singing, his entire concentration is on his raga, on his tala. If his concentration moves, he will lose track of what he is singing. He can't sing because if he doesn't concentrate, his sur will never come out to be perfect, or his tal may go off, right? So he has to completely concentrate on what he is singing. But within the concentration of what he is singing is always one ray of his mind, one bit of his mind is always associated with that sapasa. It is based on that sapasa that he is able to do all these ragas and talas. So he has what you may call a dual concentration. It's not really dual as in he's thinking two things, but he's always attuned to that sapasa. Another example you can take is maybe driving. When you're driving, you have so many things to do, right? You have to look at the road, you have to see if anybody is dashing in, you have to see what mistakes everybody else is making or not making, and you watch the lights, you watch whatever is going on. But whatever you're doing while you're driving, you have never forgotten where you're going, right? Because every time you have to make a decision of which turn to take or what you're doing, it's always based on where are you going. So that kind of dual concentration, you're like 98% of your mind is on what you're doing, but you have a little bit which always reminds you of where this is headed. Is that clear, Sarthak?
Ma'am, yeah, what if we are studying something like when we are studying, we can only keep the mind on our book, like not on Krishna, and if we can take breaks and think of him, but when we are doing something, we are doing that only.
Okay, so when you're studying, you have to ask yourself this question: why am I studying? Why are you studying, Sarthak?
Ma'am, so that because it is part of my prescribed duty or whatever daily karma I do, it is part of that.
Now you will have to figure out why is it part of your daily karma? Who has prescribed this to you? Why do you have to do this thing? Why do you have to do it? Who says you have to do it? Who told you to do it?
Ma'am, but it's better than not doing anything. Not working is better than no, working is better than non-working, right? So we have to do
Okay.
something.
Okay, so why is working better than not working?
Ma'am, because Krishna says so.
No.
Because Rajas is better than Tamas.
Okay, very good. Rajas is better than tamas. So why do you want to be rajasic instead of tamasic?
Ma'am, because Tamasic people get animal birth.
Okay. But if I don't know why I'm doing what I'm doing, then isn't that an animal birth anyway? Because what is the difference between a human being and an animal? An animal is doing whatever they're doing, and we are also doing the same thing. What is the difference? They are also
Ma'am,
born,
we
they
do
also grow
duty as
up, they also mate, they also fall ill, and they also die. And they also, acquire whatever they acquire in the course of their life. They make their own living. They feed themselves, they acquire things, they collect things. Okay, so then they do the same thing. We are doing the same thing. What's the difference?
Ma'am, karma yoga is the difference. Like we do things not thinking of the results, and they do solely for the results. So that is the difference. That is the difference Krishna is bringing to the table, right?
No,
That we are
because
doing
no, Sarthak,
things.
that's not correct. Because they do the much better job of forgetting the fruit than we do. Have you ever seen the animals function? They live perfect lives. They just do what needs to be done. It's we who are a messed up creature. They are completely fine. Have you ever seen an overweight zebra? Have you ever seen an underweight lion? Have you
No,
seen,
ma'am.
have you seen them wearing glasses or hearing aids or whatever? I don't know. They seem to be living perfect lives. We are not living perfect lives. Would you agree with that?
Yes, ma'am.
So then what is the difference between them and us? They are doing a better job. Have you ever seen a stressed out animal? One of the fascinating things, really fascinating, is the lion is chasing the wildebeest or the zebra or the deer or somebody. You see this on all these national Nat Geo and all these other channels, right? That zebra or that deer, which the lion has just chased. Okay, the lions have chased some animal and killed it and eaten it. The rest of the herd has watched this, right? They watched this happen. Okay, now this lions, after they've eaten and all, they're wandering around the place along with this. They're in the same place, right? They continue to be in the same place. The deer, the zebra is also there. The lion is also there. The zebra is continuing to eat his food. Fine, his life is going on. Now think if that had happened to us, if a lion in my presence had ever killed somebody and eaten it, would I be able to be around a lion again? It's an impossible task. Let the animals do it. It's almost like they can switch off from the past way better than we humans can do. They switched off from the future, they switched off from the past. Isn't that amazing ability? If a human being goes through anything, goes through an accident, he won't drive the car again. Goes through whatever, any horrible thing, we can't do that thing again. The animal does it again in the next 10 minutes, or next 5 minutes. Isn't that an amazing thing? Can you imagine? It almost seems like they are way better than us. What are we doing? So, Sarthak, what then is the difference between them and us? Is there any area in which we are superior to them?
Free will, ma'am.
Okay, so you've come back to the same point. Why are you doing what you're doing?
Intellect.
Oh, wait. So your question, Sarthak, comes back to the same thing. Why are you doing what you're doing? If you're doing whatever you're doing so that you will merge back with the eternal, you're studying because you will merge back with the eternal, then you will not forget the eternal while you're studying. This is not a mechanical thing that we are doing in life. We have a clear understanding of what we are doing. Okay, so why are you studying? What are you studying, Sarthak?
Ma'am, computer science.
Computer science. If you're studying computer science with the concept that I'm going to make so much money out of it, the thought of the eternal will not come to you. If you're thinking of using computer science for the welfare of humanity, the thought of the eternal will keep coming back to you. And as it keeps coming back to you, it will be stabilized within you. Within you means within anybody. Because as we move from selfish to unselfish and then grow in our unselfishness, the thought of the self starts staying more and more permanently with us. We can't keep it in the beginning. It's not possible. Since it's not possible, what do we do? So now, Sarthak, when you're studying and it's not possible to remember the self while doing it, so what can you do now?
Chant, ma'am, maybe chant. I don't know.
Chanting will not make it permanent. If you
Have
chant too much,
specific,
you will, huh?
have specific time for your own study. Your computer studies have to be done, but your spiritual studies also need to be done.
That's not his question, Suman. His question is, during my computer studies, how can I think of God? I must study my computers. I can't start thinking of God. So that's Sarthak's question. Isn't that correct, Sarthak?
Yes, ma'am, that's my question. Because Krishna is constantly trying to attach our mind to him, and we can't do that
How
if we are.
sweet that is. Sarthak, he's not constantly trying to attach our minds to him. We should try to attach. What does he care whether our minds are attached to him or not? He couldn't give a, like, pagal log hai, you're not thinking of the self, you're thinking of something else. Jao karo jo karna hai. He is not interested in getting us attached to him.
No, ma'am,
We
but
are
in Gita,
interested in getting attached to him.
in Gita, he repeats again and again that think of me and do work. So I just was confused about that. How can we do that?
Because what enables you to do your studies is the self. What you're supposed to get out of your studies is the self. Why you're forced to study is because you don't know the self. If you understand all these things, one part of your mind is always there. But it can't be there. Therefore, at the moment, the minimum we can do is, can anyone else answer?
Higher goal.
Have a higher goal. Very good, Varsha. Okay, Sarthak. So at the moment, while you're doing your studies, don't say this is my karma. Somebody has given it to me. I have to do this. Mommy says I have to study. Daddy says I have to stand on my own feet. Don't do all that. Think about how whatever you're doing can be of benefit to some whatever. How does it work? What's the point of you spending your life in doing computer science? What's the point of that? And when you know that, you will remember it at all times. While you're listening to class, while you're doing your computer studies, while you're having ice cream, while you see a movie, while you're chatting with your friends, you will not forget, because that is what you really want. Is that clear, Sarthak?
Yes, ma'am.
That's not sounding very convincing. Okay, let me give you another example. Sarthak, you must be going to college, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So a boy going to college, like some girl. Why does he go to college in the morning when he's going? What is he so enthusiastic about going?
The girl.
When he's in the class and though he's listening to the lecture, one part of his mind is where?
Yes, ma'am, on the girl.
Yeah, got it now? What is dual concentration?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's dual concentration.
This was really
Alright.
convincing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So is that clear now? What is this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now sounding a little more convinced. Okay. Okay. Sangeeta, can we say that concentrating on sa pa sa is the sakshi bhav we should be aware of? Yes, it is. I mean, yeah, I don't understand. What is the question? Concentrating, when the musician concentrates on the sa pa sa while he is singing his various ragas and talas, similarly, we think of the self, we think of our goal while we're doing whatever work we do. So that will give us the Sakshi Bhav. Yes, that's right. But don't just keep shifting words, because when you just keep shifting words, we lose the meaning. We just get involved in synonyms. So try to figure out the meaning rather than. That's why, like how Sarthak asks, it shows an attempt to do it, because then you don't figure out how it's being done. So shifting words only makes us get a feeling that we know it because we can say it in 15 different ways. Try to keep to the same words and figure it out. Shilpa says, when we start our study, chant Om, so it will remind you of God. Shilpa, yes, we do all these things to remind ourselves, but when God is what we want, like that boy going to college, he's not reminding himself of the girl. His mind, because that's what he wants. So when I want God like that, I don't need to be reminded. It is there in my mind all the time. When I don't want God like that, then I remind myself by doing all these things. Okay, remember, we take satsang as our first step in the spiritual path, which means you surround yourself by reminders because you still don't want that thing. Or you want it in a very sort of, acha hoga, milega, to type of way. It is not the driving force of life. There's a difference, right, in these kind of wants. Some things become driving forces. Okay, so
Janki
Puranam.
Abhideep Dhar has been raising his hand.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well, I didn't see any raised hand. Okay, go ahead, Abhijit. Did you raise your hand? You're muted. You can write it down on the chat, Abhijit, whatever you wanted to say. Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram Anoraniyam Anusmaritya. Remember, remember, remember. And then think about it. And then he says, Achintya Rupam. Achintya Rupam means you can't think about it. Please, mujhe maro nahi, make up your mind. Should I remember? Or is it not thinkable? If it's not thinkable, what on earth am I trying to remember? If I can't think about it, how can I remember it? What he means to say is, do not believe that you understood God. Don't believe that. Understand that it is beyond the human intellect, so that you don't get a fanatic comprehension of God, which you don't really know. Aditya Varnam. It is like fulgent, like the sun. Tamasa Parasta. Beyond beyond tamas, beyond darkness. So therefore, lots of people understand light to be God. Light is not God, for heaven's sake. Light is part of this world, just as every other thing. So what does it mean? Effulgent is the sun. It's a very interesting construct, because to see anything, you require light. When the sun is, when to see anything, the sun has to be there, light has to be there. But to see the sun, do you need any light? No, it is self-effulgent. To see anything, you need the sun. But to see the sun, do you need anything else? No, because it is self-effulgent. So, to see the self, to see anything in the world, you need the self. But to see the self, do you need anything from the world? No, it is self-effulgent. In other words, your body, mind, and intellect cannot know the self. The self knows itself by itself. It is beyond. Tamas means it is beyond ignorance. It is beyond darkness. Tamas is darkness. So beyond tamas means it is beyond ignorance. Means it's beyond any form of thought at all, because all thoughts are ignorance. Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram. Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram. Ano Aniyamsam. Anusmarit. Remember, meditate. Yes, Sarvasya Dhataram. Sarvasya Dhata. achintya rupam aditya varnam tamasa. Some indication of what we are all about. Bharat, small group discussion announcement. Okay, go ahead, Bharat. Please make the announcement.
Hari Om, everyone. Next Sunday, 8th of November, we'll have our small group discussion, and the following Sunday, Janki ji will answer the questions. For those who are new, please contact me on a personal chat. Omkar, can you just put up my number? So the small group discussion is about students gathering together and answering the query that anyone has. That next Sunday, 7 to 8 p.m. Please contact on this number for those who are new, and we'll see you next Sunday. Thank you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om Janki ji.
Hari Om Janki.
Thank you.
Hari Om.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janki ji.
Hari Om Janki.